I had to go digging, and whenever I have to go looking for my workout clothes, I just work out at home. So I did a small yoga practice and stretched uh my back out because I have been doing some lifting for like my
Small
my,
yoga.
my bottom and my legs. And
Mm-hmm.
I was feeling like this rubber band pull in my lower back and actually buttocks, cheeks. So I
Mm-hmm.
was doing a lot of those, you know how we fall forward in yoga, just let everything drop and put my hands around my ankles and just squeeze, like try to pull my back part of my body up to the sky because I just felt like I needed to stretch it. Uh,
That's always my area.
oh, it just was like, oh, and so it wasn't like a vigorous like workout today, and I can feel it. I can feel when my meditations were visual, but they were real like it wasn't like yes. It was
Yeah,
just kind of like, yeah, we're here.
and I'm wondering about that because I'm wondering, like, it's got to be some script out energy since they bombed Ukraine, right?
Mm,
And so that energy has got to be impactful on the planet.
yeah.
And so I was like thinking to myself, maybe that's it. Maybe that is the, ugh, you know. But one of the things in A Course in Miracles, like I'm in the review section,
Hmm.
and there is this thing, of course, there's no neutral, I don't see anything neutral, I don't have any neutral thoughts, I don't have any private thoughts. And so, and since my thoughts are powerful, right, then my thoughts, I have to, since the full power of God is in my thoughts, then I have to be an influencer of thought, right? And so from where I sit, I know that I am feeling this, just like you're describing. I mean, all morning, it's like my energy has been dragging behind me.
Yeah, that's a great description.
Yeah. And so I'm just trying to figure out if that is what's impacting this whole thing. But it's been, I mean, I didn't even get to write today. I have been so far behind. I mean,
Wow.
and I woke up early, and it's just been like stuff has pulled me down this rabbit hole or pulled me down that rabbit hole. So when I started journaling, I look up and it's like, whoa, I'm off schedule, which means that now I got to do my reading so I could do my meditation, and then I'm way behind by the time I get finished with my meditation. And at 6:30, hadn't even started my coffee. um so I'm still drinking on my coffee. It's been a crazy morning.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
That
Just
well, look,
be
who
available, whatever.
yeah. So so look, let me stop and thank you, God. Thank you, God, for
Mm,
this day. Thank you for everything, God. Thank you for the ways in which you show up through this broadcast in Stephanie and I. Lift us in our ideas, in our thoughts, so that we may share lifted ideas of thoughts and love and peace and prosperity right where we are. God, we
yes.
thank you for a transformation in our thinking and a transformation on our being. God bless each and every person in the Ukraine. Bless all the people of Russia. Bless all the people who are involved in this situation, God, and speak to their better angels.
Speak to wisdom, speak discernment. Yes.
Thank you, God.
Mm,
We declare that this energy here is transformed, that it may go out and transform all the world.
yes.
Bless it and let it be. Thank you,
Let it
God, for
be.
blessing Seven, laying
Yes,
hands on her, keeping her safe. Thank you.
yes,
Thank you
thank
for
you.
all those that tune in, all those who think about us or hear our voices, God. May we be a blessing to the world on this day. And so it is.
Yes. So it is. Yes.
And amen, amen.
Yes, yes, yes.
I have to, but yes, it has been, it was. And so now,
So now,
be,
that's
be,
right.
be us transformed by a
In
renewing
this
of
moment,
our minds.
that's right.
Yes,
In
yes,
this very
yes.
second.
Oh.
Mm.
So I went to last night I went to see this panel discussion on 137 shots. Another social justice piece. The movie is up on Netflix and it's a docu I don't know, it's a docu movie. I don't know what they call them nowadays when they give a story behind a event or movies. But anyway, I don't want to say I enjoyed the movie because it was about, something that was tragic and horrendous, but the way in which it was presented was wonderful. And so they had this reception. And so you could either watch it online or you could watch it at the place. And so Mansfield's daughter called me and asked me if I was going. And so when she asked me, I was like, yes, I'm there, right? Hadn't RSVP'd or anything, didn't know if I could get a ticket, whatever. I was like, yeah, I'm coming. So, so I go down to the CSU, and it said that they were going to have a reception afterwards. The reception was supposed to be the panel was 5 to 6, and the reception was 6 to 7. And I got down there really late because I was wrestling with my radio show. So I got down there all late, and what I heard was really good.
Mm.
The guy who directed it, is he's a I'll say a Clevelander. He grew up in Rocky River, white guy, very attractive, about my height. But he's a filmmaker now. And he was talking about what an uphill battle making this film was.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
In our city, like I can imagine the energies. I could just instantly feel that as soon as you said that. Like, I know it was him from
Yeah.
Rocky River, sir.
Yeah. But you know what? It was interesting because, as I listened to him and his talk and his reasoning behind, presenting the story and not necessarily being as graphic as he could have been with it, because he was like saying that there was a lot that he knew that the public wouldn't be able to handle or stomach. He said, but there was a lot that they needed to see. And so he was trying to strike a balance. But when he was asked close to the end what he wanted people to come away with out of this thing, he said, I need us as globally, I think is what he said. I need us globally to redefine what strength is. And he says, strength is not about brute physical force and violence. He says, strength, the strong person is not the one that can beat you down. And he says, instead, we need to look at peace and love and compassion and empathy as strengths instead of, he didn't say it like this, but girly woo-woo stuff. And so even as what is happening in the Ukraine unfolds, I am hopeful that our better angels um, allows us to see that this is not the way. This is never the way. It's never the answer.
And the impact is so my grandson is Ukrainian. So this has such an impact on so many people that the ripple effects are just, it's just crazy. Same thing when we were over in Lebanon. You know, my two very, very dear friends are Lebanese, and having to listen, and one is Syrian, and just having to listen to firsthand. First of all, it was great. I am grateful for those connections because we get the truth, right?
Right.
I don't have to listen to the news, but it's not just as we watch our TVs that it's them over there.
Right.
There are families being impacted right here in our backyards by things that are happening over there. And let's just even talk about family who have family members that are in the military, and their young men or women have to go over there and fight a battle that isn't theirs to fight. You know, it's just so much when we start this cycle up again of this domestic violence is what I call it, the cycle of abuse.
Yeah. And it's like moving, for some people, it's like moving pawns on a chessboard without recognizing that each of those pawns has family and purpose and something beyond.
Well, we can't afford to recognize that. An abuser can't afford to pay attention to that. That part is shut down, or else we wouldn't be able to do what we do. Like, we can't think like that. This is a chess game. It's a game. Remember that Battleship game where you guess where the logistics of
I remember it. I don't think I ever played it.
Yeah, and you just kind of like blowing up stuff. And there's other ships around that, you know, it's just, I don't know. I think that, I think that there are entities that are just playing, it's a game for whatever reason, you know, from an ethereal place. I know it's for our highest and best good, but
and I don't know where people stand in about U.S. involvement, but I think that part of an unfortunate thing is that Trump was so cozy with Putin when he was in office. And so I can't help but wonder what the dynamic of that is, what, you know, how this is, how people will spend that even, you know, because there are going to be some war hungry people, but on what side do you come down on? Or what side are they coming down on? The invader or the invaded? That becomes a question that, you know, people have to grapple with. And so it's really interesting to me. My cousin is played basketball. Actually, he was last year's MVP. He plays basketball in the Ukraine, and so it is my prayer that he has gotten out of there safely. When I talked to his grandmother last week, she was very anxious and nervous about him being over there. And he was telling her that he was leaving the Ukraine to go to another country, but she wants him back on US soil so he could get a job. I'm thinking to myself, that boy is, I mean, you know, that's the last thing on some people's mind. Once you had a taste of being someplace else, you know, you ain't necessarily trying to come back here and get a regular
job.
You know, job with benefits. So
I hope that he made it wherever he was going
yeah,
safely
I,
too.
I
And
trust that he did. Like I tell people, they hold up athletes over there like they're gods. And
they
so,
do. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I trust that wherever he is safe and comfortable. Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
so
Yeah,
it,
we have a lot to be, um, we have many reasons to change our energetic set points. We have many, 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 many reasons. If you can't do it for you, do it for somebody else.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right?
yes, yes. So, what we came here to do. And you know what? And it's interesting though, because if we felt that, it's like everybody feels that, um, even if we don't have a name for it all the time, we
Right. No.
always have like there's something in the ethers that is amiss. And we don't
Mhm.
always know how to pinpoint what it is. But um it,
But I think it's so cool because I imagine that there's going to come a time that the masses will become so familiar with this energetic shift. You know, everybody's talking about Mercury retrograde. So that's the thing now. You can hear people talking about the Mercury retrograde. So, but there's going to be a season, I imagine, in my imagination, and we're going to be talking about that today, I think, too. But in my imagination, I imagine that there's going to be a time when this experience becomes such a collective experience that we'll be able to do shifts like people used to pray for rain,
mhm.
that miraculously there are shifts that'll be taking place because we are becoming more and more familiar and allowing our intuition or our senses or our neural selves to be in touch with all that is and be in motion with in movement with the universe.
Yeah, and know that it works. I mean,
Yes,
that's
yes.
part of it is to allow it to work. Some people will be like, at one point you'd be like, that,
Whatever.
my space I've been praying for a long time and God ain't answered my prayers. That's how some people will be. But when
Mhm.
they see the amazing ability to shift energy around just based on speaking your word for it,
Right, right.
I think to me it's an amazing power. And I know because I used to be turned off by that too. I used to be like, here we go. Somebody always, but I ain't in the begging mode. I'm not in the begging mode because I know, I know the power that is right where I am and right where you are, right? I don't need to sit and beg about something. And if I don't see the results I was aiming for, it's not because something didn't shift and change. It's just because sometimes we don't know what the heck we ask.
We don't know what to ask for. I always am reminded, and all the stories in the Bible, there's been just a few that Spirit has like laid on my heart and are always like my reference file. And that's that story of Hannah and her desires, her desires, her desires. But when she requested the correct request, and my friend always says, Stephanie, you just got to re-ask the question, like ask the question again in a different way. So when Hannah decided to say, okay, not for me, but I'm going to dedicate this experience to you if you say yes, if you
Mhm.
honor this intention, and then she got the desire of her heart. So I think that a lot of times for us, it's us reevaluating the request,
Mhm.
not saying it didn't happen for me. Like,
Mhm.
what am I asking for? And if it was for my highest good, I would be living in the hell yes of it, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so it's really interesting too, because it's how do we not bring into the words that we speak, how do we not bring in our fear And I think that a lot of times people don't realize that what you take into a prayer, you get out of it.
Mhm, mhm,
And so sometimes we gotta, maybe that's the next thing, talk about the power of our own word, our own spoken word, and not to get too,
mhm,
religious about it, but what's the difference in saying can you from would you, you know? And
mhm,
it's so interesting because they say that sometimes it is certain things that just land differently. Yeah,
mhm,
I can, but will I?
mhm,
You know, I could, but would I?
mhm.
That becomes the kind of like, how do we what's the feel around that? What's the just like we were when we talked about destiny versus fate. What's the feel
Mhm.
around that? And we all have different perceptions of what we bring to a conversation based on the words that we choose. And so our words, we are having a conversation with God all the time.
All the time, every conversation is a prayer.
Yes, 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 yes. All right. All righty. All right. So here we go.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Climbing the stairways to heaven.
Uh-oh. That was actually one of my sister, when she got married, we walked in on Stairway to Heaven.
Oh,
Go.
everybody has everybody has their own meaning. That song has different meaning to so many people. I find that fascinating. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's really good. But it just came to me as I was, and you said, here we go. I was like, yep, on our way to
Step
the
by step. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
Step by step. Ah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Mm.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So all right. So where are we?
The second paragraph, I think, whether we're imagining.
Oh, I can't hear you. Turn away from the front.
Right. Right here in the second paragraph where it says whether we're imagining a scene of forgiveness, comfort, or letting go, or simply visualizing a loved one, images can profoundly settle into our bodies and sink into our minds.
Oh.
Second paragraph
Uh-huh.
at the bottom.
Okay. That's cool. We're imagining a scene. Whether we're imagining a scene of we're letting go or simply visualizing a loved one, images can profoundly settle in our bodies and sink into our minds. Um, we talked about this before, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
In Carolyn Miss's book, one of the things we talked about was seeing a person, like even setting up a chair for them, or seeing ourselves taking an embrace or holding somebody, or any number of things. We've talked about the power of imagining in our minds. Having a conversation with somebody is no longer embodied, right? Even if, and one of the things that I do sometimes is act as if it
Mm-hmm.
is right in the
Mm-hmm.
moment, acting as if. And so, how does this settle on you? How does this feel for you?
I find it to work. I find it to work, and I find that it's a powerful thing, and I'm jumping ahead, but because neurologically, the firing and wiring together, it does make sense. It has worked 1,000 times over, and I think yesterday, like I said, once you step into a place that you want to be in, it, like when you're imagining that you're in the place that you want to be in, then you give yourself permission to live that out. But a lot of people are challenged with the feeling because they haven't practiced the vibrational set point for that place. And so when they go back to, when they try to be in that space, and then they kind of fall off or fall into the body starts, or the mind starts to repeat behaviors that it's used to repeating, then people get discouraged. But I definitely am in alignment with this.
So wait a minute. When I hear you saying the body set point, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do we make that plain for people? How do we, if we are really just trying to give a real life example of
So a real life example of a set point is that somebody could be in a connection or in the job of their dream, right? They wanted the job or they wanted the relationship and they're there, and then they wake up the very next day and they're unhappy.
mm-hmm.
That's an emotional set point. That's a vibrational set point. And so, and when you are aware, then you're not turning to your boss or your coworkers and saying something is wrong with this external thing. You now go inside and say something is out of place with this internal being. And then you, as you do your work, you start to recognize that this is a pattern that I've had all the time. And then you learn where did this come from? And if you pay attention to your family of origin, you'll see that we all complain. We all have conversations, or we all get on jobs of our dreams, and then come home and everybody's complaining about it. You start to recognize the pattern. That's a vibrational set point, is that when life is giving you a big giant yes, and you revert back to a behavior or a feeling or a suspicion that you've been here before, just a different name, different face, but you are the common denominator.
Yeah, and that brings up so many points that we've talked about already before, whether it was in this book or another book, or the anatomy of the spirit. I remember talking a lot about that. Because of what used to happen when I was younger, that somebody was always stealing my stuff, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
No matter what it was, I still carry that energy with me that somebody is stealing my stuff, even though I'm in the house by myself. Mm-hmm. And I know that my dog ain't going in the refrigerator taking my stuff, or that I know that
right, exactly.
But it is in my mind already that somebody is taking my stuff, because that was what used to happen when I was younger, when I lived in a house full of people, and I had these wonderful brothers that don't give a darn that was yours. It was,
right.
It seemed like it was perfect for them. It was waiting on them. So and so that was my pattern, and just because it was my pattern doesn't necessarily mean that I got rid of it once my situation changed.
No, as a matter of fact, if you are to get rid of it, if your highest self is ready for you to get rid of it, you start having your own experiences in your house by yourself, and you start becoming aware of it.
Yeah.
And that's life saying, okay, this is something that's no longer serving us. Like, you don't need this trauma. You don't need this experience. So now you start to do the work and say, okay, Sandra, where did you put this? Where did you, what?
Right. Right. What did I do with it? Right? Because there ain't nobody else here. So, but and I think that a lot of people are like that in relationships.
Heck yeah.
It's amazing to me, because when people, I don't know if it was my stalker or who that said to me something like, I've seen women do this all my life. And I'm thinking,
but have you seen all women do this all your life?
It's
No,
like, well, just because that was what you were exposed to doesn't necessarily mean that it will be the truth about everybody. And
Right.
if you presuppose that it is, then what you do is you pick a fight, or the fight that you're having is not necessarily with me.
Right. And so the question is, are you willing to continue to have that experience again? Or are you willing to do something different?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you do something different by imagining something different about the connection you're in right now,
Yeah.
deciding that this is not that.
Mm-hmm. That this
It's
person,
literally a decision of deciding this is not that. And now let me be conscious or present to know what this is.
yeah. Yeah. And so sometimes, like when in the other meeting that I was in, when people talk about, you got to have trust, I'm sitting there saying, but without necessarily understanding what caused the distrust in the first place, to say to me that I have to have trust is a mute point, is falling on deaf ears, because I know my experience, even if the other person doesn't, and all you doing is sitting there saying, well, you gotta trust, and it's like,
Yeah. And so then, the work to do is, what is trust? What do you mean when you say that? What do you mean? Because when I hear trust, let's just talk about the circumstance. You were talking about the community meeting. When I hear trust, I hear vulnerability. So are you saying you just have to be vulnerable?
mm, right.
You just have to be naked before us and open up your heart space and everything. And hey,
Wow. And wait a minute, is that how you hear the word trust?
vulnerable.
uh Okay, that's interesting.
For a person who has a trauma brain, trust is being in a place of vulnerability.
Mm,
And so it gives the other person an opportunity to become gracious, humble, and very careful when handling somebody who has been traumatized. If you're aware.
so it gives them the ability to be gracious, humble, and you use one more word.
And I don't remember it.
Gracious, humble, and understanding, maybe.
Cautious.
Cautious. Okay. um and I
So
and
you become more like less reactive to their reactivity,
mhm.
right? Because there's reactivity that comes with like trust. I'm gonna trust you. I don't know you from Adam.
Right. So I guess when I hear the word trust, I didn't get I it doesn't fall on me as vulnerable. It falls on me, and this could just be me. It falls on me as being open,
Okay.
which means that while I'm open to hear you, I still am, you still don't have a yes from me,
Okay.
right? I'm just open and available to a possibility.
Okay.
That's and so that little distinction is interesting to me. Um yeah, that's interesting to me.
Yeah, if in my world, if I trust you, I am I am I am making myself vulnerable, open, if you use that language, open to you. I'm opening up, I'm giving you an opportunity to have some level of influence in my journey. And so that for me is a place of vulnerability. So, like, I know that I hold that space when I work with clients. When they sit before me, they are becoming vulnerable, because to sit here and open up is a big deal because most people live their lives closed.
So, okay. And so I'm gonna give you my visual, right? I'm gonna give you my visual between between how I'm perceiving this and how you're saying it, right? So for me to be vulnerable, the way that I perceive vulnerable is like giving you an egg, right?
Mhm.
Not a hard-boiled egg,
Right.
not a protected egg, but just handing you an egg that has the ability to break.
Mhm.
Being open to me is opening a box where I'm sitting in a container that contains the egg. I haven't necessarily put it in your hand. I haven't handed it over to you like you might drop it or something like that. But it's sitting here in this container, exposed to you,
Mhm.
but that at any time I can close that container back. It's still safe right where it is. I can
Mhm.
close it back and be like, yeah, back up, right? Um, and then I know that there are people who come as hard-boiled eggs already. So, I guess that would be like a difference in how that falls on me. If that makes sense. But okay, it's just a different perception.
But I feel I should have her open.
You're not moving. Are you there? There you are.
What happened? I just like went away. Okay. So so I was gonna say is that when I think of vulnerability, the picture that you painted was the exact same one. It's the exact same picture.
Okay.
Yeah, because even though you got the egg in your hand, if I mean you harm, whether you got it there or not, and you're open, I can still crack your egg. If I'm a good shot, right? Whether you hand it to me or not. In my
Okay.
humble opinion. So,
Okay.
but that picture, that visual was perfect because that's exactly that's exactly what I see and feel when I think of vulnerability.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, because it's so funny to me how people will hand over something to you, right? Something that they don't want you to break or crack. And then they put it in the hands of somebody who has not proven themselves responsible
Mhm.
with what
Mhm.
it is that they're holding,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
so if I have seen you crack other eggs, if I've seen you mess up before, I have this friend who is, I think he's a newscaster. Well, I know he's a news person here in Cleveland, right? Back in the day, he was here. And I told him something that I didn't really want shared. It was something that was, that was for me, but and I knew he was reckless, right? I knew he was like a bull in a china shop, reckless, right? But I did not think he would violate my trust because one, it was me, and I thought that him and I shared some level of friendship that I didn't think he would violate that. And girl, as soon as he got the opportunity, it was like he came into my china shop and was like, go, because of the other person, go spike my football down. Like, my little china piece, bam, now. She done told me the truth. I was like, yeah, no, no, he will not. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice? No, it's not gonna happen. Good morning, Everett. Trust for Everett is an invitation for you to expose me to your transparency, which is how I find truth in your words.
Hmm.
Hmm. truth is what I put trust in. Your truth is what I put trust in. I'm trying to see how that lands on me, Everett. And so,
That's good, but I'm like, so what do I get to call the truth, or do you get to call the truth?
and then,
I,
and then what part does he play in that? It's like just me being transparent. What part do you play in that? You know, is that, you know, show me yours, I'll show you mine. Is that the game? I'm just, I don't know.
I don't know. That's yeah, I don't know.
No, you first.
Well, we gotta all be first. If you want a genuine, authentic connection, you can't be like, I'll wait for you. Oh, I'll wait for you. But if you are, let me just say, find out what you're afraid of, because fear is the thing that causes cuckoo-ness. Love just like, look, love is logical. Love does what it does, but fear will create a whole nother set of, like, you first. You got something to say? And I'm preaching to myself too, because I'm big on you first. In my private life.
Uh-huh.
I guess I'm like that in my sessions too, because I'm like, what you got? What you got? What you got? I'm not here to do your work for you. So I guess I'm like that all the way around. What you bringing?
Yeah, you know, so when I was a kid, that was what, you know, people used to always say, you show me yours, I'll show you mine. I'd be like, well, shucks, you go first, because because I done seen people back out, you know. I was like, nah, you
But do you see how impactful that has been? We're adults.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
Living our lives, paying our own bills, taking care of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And yet there's this wall, this divider that is like, I'm going to peek over. I love the way my friend Jerome talks about the wall. Peek over the wall
Uh-huh.
and then come back, as opposed to move the dang on wall out the way. Now what? But we have been so trained, and people who have been violated have violated us. And so now we're not vulnerable.
Right.
We will not be vulnerable. We won't tell our truth. And then people will say, oh, I caught him or I caught her in a lie. You really caught them in fear.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, so when I see this, Everett said he brings transparency 24/7, right? That's
my desire too, Everett. I really,
yeah,
oh.
that's what he says. And yeah, I don't know that I bring transparency 24/7, because everybody is not, you know, everybody can't hold that for me, right? I may show up in this arena because I can close my box. I could just say end end transmission. I could close my box. But I can't say that I am there 24/7. You know, I really, yeah. In a world of transparency, trust is relatively easy because your character is not debatable.
It is what it is.
Yeah, but yeah, but we don't know everybody's motives. And one of the wonderful things, like Everett always comes across very secure in that he can handle any situation, right? He comes across, that's the energy that he brings. But say, for instance, let's talk about it from the perspective that you are talking to two women, both who have been violated in some type of way by a guy. And even if we frisk him down before we let him in the house, it doesn't mean that he doesn't have the power to overpower us.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes a great deal of trust to open up the door in the first place, because we don't always know their intentions. So we're trusting ourselves enough sometimes to open the door.
Mm-hmm.
Not that we trust that person that's at the door, but we trust ourselves enough sometimes to be able to handle what may jump.
Whatever. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't say I I can't always say that I trust that a person is transparent or that their motives are pure.
Well, you can't, because yours aren't. So when you feel safe enough to be transparent, then you can hold a space for that. But that's that part about being vulnerable. It's like that takes a lot. It's almost like you go first. Like that makes
Right.
absolute sense. Like,
And this is speaking
that's
also
real
to
good.
trauma that I have experienced in
Yes.
life,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
so I can say this with some people, but I can't say that 24/7. With some people, I absolutely trust. I absolutely think that they have my highest and best at hand. But I can't say that that is everybody that I have, because I know from experience that it's not. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's my truth.
That's my transparency, right? That's my transparency.
Yeah. And
But I can imagine it being a goal. Um, I I have challenges with people who have many faces, um, and no longer judgment, of course, because of what I've learned to do and what I've learned about people. But the many faces has always created an anxiety for me, and it creates a sense of insecurity for me. But I know that people do it. I know that it's a thing, and I think transparency is, I think understanding everyone's definition is important when you get into a connection, because, just like we did open and vulnerability, and your description, depiction, imagery of openness is the exact meaning that I have for vulnerability. And so transparency may mean something very different to each person. I would imagine, because I don't know. I think that transparency is a goal.
And so we could look at transparency too and say that transparency is exactly like we may have described. Like, you can see my egg, it don't mean you could touch my egg, right?
That's good.
Because
Mhm.
I
That's
got,
good. Yeah.
yeah, you're
Okay.
looking at this, it's a wall there, but it's a transparent wall.
It's like me, the rose in that little glass container.
Right. So he said, Everett says, I like the fact that you are understanding that trust begins with self, and that you have to begin the conversation about trust with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so like, I have been talking about my my full stops are things
Mm-hmm.
that I am bringing that are historical,
Mm-hmm.
right? From my ancestral line of not always trusting another person and their intentions, right? I've talked about that, and the impact on my grandmothers and other lives that have been around me. And so I get that I've got that piece with me.
Mhm.
Now, I will say that I have been blessed to have people in my life that has shown me that what the stuff that may be playing in the ticker tape background in my life, it shows me that it's not true, right?
Mhm.
I got examples. I got real life examples in front of me. However, when the wolf in sheep clothing shows up, I can look at it and feel okay with saying, oh yeah, I see you. I see you. I see you're a wolf, right? I can say that. And then somebody tries to gaslight you and say, oh no, dear, it's better to see you with, my dear. The better to do this with, my dear. I mean, they can give me all of the stuff, but I'm secure enough in myself to say, I hear what you say. But
Mhm.
the words and the music don't match, right? I love that when this man says, yeah, I can hear the sounds over here. And he was like, that's not the music that goes with that tune, right? That the music that you are, that's in the background, is something different than the words. It has a different melody, a different cadence. Those two don't go together.
Mhm.
So I'm secure enough in myself to say, I can call a spade a spade. I can call
Mhm.
it for what it is, and not need to allow somebody else to do a flim flam move on me and tell me that it's not. So, yeah. I stand in that, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
but I think this is, I think it's really useful to kind of explore, to explore. And
Yeah.
is my hesitancy based on, you know,
Yeah.
on what does he call it in here? What does he call it here? Um the ghost, right? That
Yeah.
it's my haunting that causes me to,
Oh, that's what I call it too, the haunting. Mhm.
it's my haunting that causes me to, to have those feelings. I can feel it woo, when it comes on. Um, but I can make a choice in the present. And yeah, and if it's still a ghost, then yeah, dude, back up. So Everett says transparency is a wall. The wall allows you to see and to deal with the falsehood that people bring your way before entry into your world.
Okay. Oh. Oh.
And the problem
That's yummy. So,
some people let you in too soon, huh?
so you can I see now the wall, like my friend Jerome was telling me about, walling, clients walling and looking over the wall.
Mhm.
However, if the walls are made with clear bricks, there may not be an essential looking over. It could just be looking out and there's no opening. So then I get to be who I am, and I'm transparent. I get to be who I am, but doesn't mean that that people can come through the wall. Like I get to practice being my 100 authentic self, but the transparency being the wall it's a clear wall. When I think of walls before this moment, it was bricks,
Mhm.
not even the bricks with the holes in them, just like flat out cinder blocks on its side, right? But just with that statement that Everett just made, I can see clear bricks. I like this because I can use this in work. There's clear bricks, and now who can I be knowing that I'm transparent? Like I can still be seen, right? I can
But
still be seen. Who do I be?
but it's funny because when I guess when you use the word clear bricks, I see glass blocks.
Yeah, glass blocks, but not the ones that's all
Right.
faded out.
I can't see clearly through a glass block.
Yeah,
Uh,
that,
yeah,
you still want to hide.
yeah, yeah.
You're like, okay, Stephanie, but we can do glass blocks.
So he says fake people have issues with truth, right? So so as I so let me tell you what came up for me. There was a guy who's talking about his child being when this child was born. He was talking about how excited he was for this son, and he was like, he says he knew after a few months of this baby's birth that there was something wrong, and he says he couldn't put his hands on it. And he says in that as he played with the child, he said, since this is his second, he was like, I knew that there was something very, very different. And then he says my son would look away. He says he very rarely made eye contact. He says he would look away. And he says, and he says it would be past me, but it would be at something else, a way to look away at. He was like, and so he said he had to sit with that, kept coming back to that, like look away at something else. And it was a question always of, what are you looking at? What are you looking at? Looking at his son, what are you looking at? What is it that you see that I don't see? And then wanting to connect, with his child as he looked away at something, not to make his looking away wrong, or, because he spoke to that. He was like, I'm not trying to, I want to be in a
I
place of,
want to go there too.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I know that feeling. Yes, yes, yes.
So
It's
he
a,
kept saying, he was like, he says, and he's looking away at something. And he was like, and so how do we recognize that that is something too, to look away at something, as opposed to needing to see or connect on that level? And so his words kind of come back to me from time to time. So what is that for us when we look away at something? Is there an anticipation there? Is there, what's that?
mm,
Everett says more like bulletproof glass, clear,
yeah,
building you nonetheless. Yeah. Okay.
yeah. This was good. Wow. Thank
Yeah,
you, life. This
yeah,
was good, considering how we were feeling when we started. It's like, oh, we can pay attention to the breadcrumbs here,
yeah, yeah. Oh,
right?
good. You. Thank you, Everett, for all of that.
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Good. That was good.
Oh, thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
I
Thank
really
you so
appreciate
much.
the
This was a
conversation.
good use of my time.
Yeah.
So good. So
So,
good.
so we've talked about ethics, we've talked about transparency, trust, vulnerability, openness. What does all of that mean? As well as talking about the images that we put up that, are
Mm.
ghost. Right, right, right. So yes, thank you, Ever. He says he's honored to be here.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Thank
Thank you.
All right. We
All
missed you
right.
Monday, Everett, but maybe it was
Yes.
early for him. I don't know.
Next time.
Uh-huh.
All right. I'm going to get going.
All
Have an
right.
amazing day. Deep bow to
Yes,
all of you.
you bow,
Enjoy your
dear. All
Thursday.
right. All
Love
right.
you.
Have a good one. Love you too. See ya. All right, y'all. We are out of here. I hope you are planning to have a fabulous day. It is Thursday, and I got things to do here. Um, yeah, yeah. But let's keep prayerful and mindful about Oh, I'm sorry, Everett. He had a death in the family. I'm so sorry. So sorry. Um, Praying about that too. All right. Thank you for one more thing on my prayer list. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I love this. I love this. I'm gonna stop and pray about everything. Yeah. Because that is going to be who I am and what I do. So blessings, blessings to each of you. All right. So, all right. So have a magnificent or terrific Thursday. We will be here tomorrow, 7:30-ish. And I will see you then. Tomorrow is Friday. So yeah, have an amazing evening. All right. See ya. And yeah, and keep Ukraine in your thoughts and prayers.